just in the last hour, we got word on who is going to be delivering next Tuesday's State of the Union response. The details confirmed to NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Kasie Hunt, who joins me now. Kasie?
Allie, great to see you. That's right. We have learned that Stacey Abrams, who was the Democratic nominee for governor in Georgia, is going to deliver the State of the Union response for Democrats. We are still kind of looking through the historical records here, but it's at the very least very rare for anyone who's not elected to give a State of the Union response. So an interesting choice. But of course, in the context of the Democratic Party and where things are heading for 2020, it makes some sense. There are a lot of particularly progressive Democrats who are looking to people like Stacey Abrams and saying she represents the future of the party. I asked Chuck Schumer, the minority leader in the Senate, about this decision a little bit earlier, and he confirmed it. Take a look.
Kasie.
Have you asked Stacey Abrams to deliver the Democratic response, and has she accepted to the State of the Union?
Well, Speaker Pelosi and I are going to issue an official statement shortly. But yes, 3 weeks ago, I called Stacey Abrams and asked her to deliver the response to the State of the Union. I was very delighted when she agreed.
So we will see, Allie, if this turns out to be a successful platform for Stacey Abrams. Our Jeff Bennett's reporting that we are about to get a statement from her, so keep an eye out for that as well. But, you know, this hasn't always been the best platform for an up-and-coming politician, even though it may be high profile. There are very oftentimes embarrassing moments. Just ask Senator Marco Rubio about that water bottle that was a little too far away.
Bobby Jindal had a rough time of it. You know, people often put a lot of weight on the response to the State of the Union. It's often thought of as somebody who's an up-and-comer. Stacey Abrams seems to have a bit more comfort in front of the mic generally.
We'll see how it goes, Allie. I mean, it can be a difficult venue, right? You have to follow a president of the United States who's just given an address to a packed hall with a lot of pomp and circumstance, formality. You know, a lot of the awkwardness comes from the contrast between that and then how the Democrat or the Republican, depending on who obviously is in control of the White House, you know, they often have done it in rooms that don't include a crowd. The vibe is just much different. Democrats had experimented with, Joe Kennedy gave one of the recent State of the Union responses, and he did it in front of a crowd of people to try to give it a little bit of a different vibe. But even he couldn't escape. Honestly, the mistake that he made is escaping me, but there was something about that speech that had, you know, people making fun of him the next day. So it can be a little tough no matter what.
Kasie, thank you for the news. Kasie Hunt on Capitol Hill for us.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.